Hello, beautifuls. Happy Thursday, aka we've almost made it fully through
day after the election.
The madness of the election. But there's still so much to talk about because obviously so much has happened. So much of our world has changed. And so today we're just talking about, the aftermath of what we're all dealing with, of just kind of like, what do you do with your white friends and your Black and Latino friends, however small that number may be, who voted for Trump. But, there's a lot that goes into it. So there's a lot to unpack today. But make sure you guys let us know what happens in your situations. Who have you been dealing with? Have you unfriended people? Have you gotten close to cursing out a coworker or neighbor or someone at the supermarket? Or are you just, loving and embracing everybody? Because more power to you. It's bigger than I am right now.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk first about a piece that Kiara Kelly wrote. I feel like by now you guys know us, right? We're all friends. Yeah. Allie, Shan, Danielle, Kiara.
Yeah. Hey, girl.
I like that intro. That was cute and sweet.
That was
so cute. So we sound like a girl group, right?
I know.
So, so I'm going to toss to Kiara to talk about her piece, and then we're going to get right into it and unpack everything.
Yeah, thank you. So, I had to get a little vulnerable for this one. It was a little scary, but basically I wrote a piece about the illusion of allyship because my white friends were voting for Trump. And I think it was really scary for me as I was scrolling through my Facebook timeline to see how many of them were so boldly and proudly saying, I voted for Trump. Because to me, a vote for Trump was a vote for hatred. It was a vote for misogyny. It was a vote for xenophobia. It was a vote for bigotry. And I couldn't understand how people were so easily disconnecting their politics from their personal lives. How do you disconnect your morality from the action you put into voting for someone who doesn't represent our morals and should not represent our country? So basically in the piece, I just talk about dealing with the emotions of that and remembering, I grew up with a lot of these people. They were considered like family to me, and for any of you who went to predominantly white schools, a lot of your best friends come from all different types of demographics.
Very true.
And so it's almost like you exist within this hub of acceptance and you feel like, okay, we're all in this together. And then you realize you're all in this together to the extent that your worlds merge. And I think that was what was so striking and stark to me is you understand me in the context of you, but do you understand me in the context of a police officer approaching my man and throwing him to the ground because he thinks he's done something wrong just because he's Black? Do you understand me to the extent that my future son could be a Trayvon Martin? Do you understand that? So that's kind of been the complexity of absorbing that reality that my white friends voted for Trump. So.
Yeah.
And what happened after you realized that these white friends who voted for Trump, did you hit that delete?
So some have been deleting, some I've been hiding because it's hard to come to terms with it. But I have been engaging in conversations with them, and what's been interesting is that their responses are, well, we think he's just joking. We're not taking what he's saying seriously. And then
Did they say that?
Oh, yeah. They're just like, we don't think he's really going to build a wall and get rid of immigrants. He's just doing that for political show business. And then that's when you really realize that people were viewing this man as a reality star. They weren't viewing him as someone who meant... Yeah, because
the most powerful man.
In the world.
Right.
And when you're watching, reality TV and the person who's saying the craziest things is the person who gets the most, showtime, the most face time. And they do that in order to keep themselves in the series. That's how I felt like they were viewing this. What did you think?
I mean, I have people in my life who have voted for Trump. A lot of people, there are some people who got immediately defriended, and that was before the election. That was from the months leading up of just, whether or not it was just about Trump, whether it was about Black Lives Matter, their comments on homosexuality, or their comments on immigrants. So I've definitely been in a steady place of deleting people because guess what? Facebook is not real life.
It's not. And
I don't need to have them in my timeline. That's my choice. And what I can't understand is when people... So I have a friend, I think I was telling both of you guys about that, who I grew up in a predominantly white town. I'm biracial, so that was in some ways even more offensive to a lot of people because it was this racial mixing and people were just uncomfortable with whether that be Black people mad at my mom for being married to a white man or white people being mad at my dad for married to a Black woman. So when I first moved to the town, I had a friend who was one of the first people who was really embracing to me. And I really love her. And we've been friends for almost 15 years. So for her to vote for Trump, like, that's the part that I think I'm, struggling with, because I really love her, and I really believe that she is a good person who sees the world through a good lens. So, but the thing is that it extends beyond this is not just about politics. I didn't unfriend people if they voted for George Bush, if they were supporting Marco Rubio. I would never unfriend somebody who was, voting for Mitt Romney, because there is a fundamental difference, and they never took it to where Trump did, where it was about building walls, kicking out all Muslims, not allowing Muslims in. I mean, talking about black people only through the lens of law and order and violence and destruction. So it just goes to a different place. Sorry, that was a really long story, but it's the truth. Like, it's personal, and it's hard for me because I really love. There are a couple people who I really love, and I'm dealing with that, and I haven't reconciled it yet.
Danielle, are there people in your social circles that you have felt like have expressed, Trump support, and it's taken you off guard?
Well, it's been so interesting, because it's like I realize, like, I have like two types of white people in my life. It's like the white people who are like, yes, I voted for Trump, like, unapologetically, and then my white friends who didn't vote for Trump but are also kind of feeling the guilt, like, well, maybe I was talking to the wrong audience,
right?
Or maybe I was like living in my social bubble. And I had a very real conversation with one of my girlfriends who's probably watching right now. She's white, like, we're very close, like, I'm the godmother to all three of her very white children, like blonde hair, blue-eyed children, right. And we talk a lot about race, because we've decided that we don't tell them. Like, we're not like, Danielle is black and you are white, like, it's like we don't talk about that. But when we talked about it, and when we talked, like, she didn't fully see it. Like, I had to, like, put her on through to my lens. And I kind of feel like that veil of privilege is so thick, and sometimes someone really needs to just go like this, you know? So I feel like conversations that I'm like, and she's like, I would never ask this in a public forum. She's like, I can only ask this because I'm talking to you, and it's not offensive. And that is what I think the first step is, because we've become, and I'm not saying this to disillusion, like, but we've become such a sensitive society that I don't think that we are even having these real conversations, and especially not having very real conversations on social media. And so I kind of feel like this, we're all so real, but we're really not all being so real, is really what allowed him to win, because we think about race every day because we have to.
Right.
We have to. But when you're white, you don't have to think about it. So your choices are not made in the thoughts of race. And I also think our white friends, when they're making those decisions and those choices, they're not thinking about they don't have those experiences to go with to. Not to say that women didn't do it deliberately too, because of course some did, but I'm having a really hard time with, like, the fact that we aren't like talking about the main thing, which is that the media, supported him very heavily, whether they meant to or not, whether it backfired, and the fact that we are not in spaces that allow safe spaces to have real conversations. Even like your article you wrote, like, it took vulnerability in which to do that. I don't know if you've gotten any kind of backlash for it.
I have.
But, you have, but, like, to even put out that thought there, and not have other, like, white women be like, well, am I a problem? Like, is this a problem? But automatically being on the defense.
Right.
Or even black women, when, like, someone's like, well, I don't really get it, and then are we on the defense? And I kind of feel like that always opposing on the defense really took us off our offense, and then that's why we're here today.
We if you guys are just joining us, we're talking about reconciling with our white friends and friends in general who voted for Trump, with the election stakes being so high. We're definitely going to continue the conversation, but I see a million amazing looking comments.
So excited to see these.
A lot of comments, and just to touch on it a little bit, my experience has been a little different. I don't know if it's because I don't follow a lot of white people on social media, but I haven't seen anyone really say they voted for Trump. I've had people who didn't vote, versus a lot of people who said that they voted for Trump. So my experience has been a little different. I've actually had problems with black people who have a lot to say about our grieving process, because there's also an aspect of it where people, and we see this often after, like, shootings or when black people are gunned down, and we take to social media to vent our frustrations. And there's always some people out there who are just like, well, get off Facebook and stop talking about it.
Right.
Social media has led to movements like Black Lives Matter.
Absolutely.
It has been a factor in the election and everyone winning. So it always bothers me to see that. So I've had a different type of experience, but I also know all that you guys going through because I sit next to them. So let's get into some of these comments. Okay. Chrissy Rosemary says, "Not my president." Hashtag that girl. That is correct.
Co-sign on that.
Susan Lynn says, "Stop dividing. By continuing this type of conversation, you continue to create the divide. We all bleed the same."
Is Susan Lynn?
Okay, stop there.
No,
Yeah,
she's not.
'cause-
So just as a pause.
Wait, Susan is okay. You guys go and let me look into Susan is white.
Yeah. So the thing is, Susan, as a white woman, or not black in the least. I think it's important for you to recognize that recognizing color is not causing a divide. Mm-hmm. For us to say that you're white and she's black and I'm biracial or all the different things, or he's Latino or he's Asian, it's not a division. And we have got to stop living under this bullshit, and I'm gonna curse on here, belief that colorblind society is the solution, because clearly it's not. No. And the thing is like, I want to have a conversation with you, and I appreciate so much that you're weighing in on this, but you have to step outside of your lens of seeing things and stop seeing everything as a division. I agree. We're trying to figure out how to reconcile it now, so let's not trade insults. Let's figure out how we can actually solve it.
And the realness is that this country was built on racism, and I don't know why we try to swipe that under the table. Like, I am amazed at how Germany has been able to overcome, I don't want to say overcome, but like has able to deal with the Holocaust. Right. Like, it is illegal to say the Holocaust didn't happen in Germany. When I went to Germany, I was like, y'all believe in the Holocaust? Y'all know what y'all did? And they're like, yep. And they just own it.
They fought for that too.
They fought for that reconciliation.
Long time for that. Kiara, you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say that our one conversation is not adding to a divide when 60 million people in this country voted for Donald Trump. So just piggybacking off what Allie was saying, this conversation is a healing reconciliation conversation.
And the thing is that her perspective is not just a white perspective, because yesterday we had a black reader say the same thing. Like, why are you talking about people of color? There's nothing wrong
with talking about color.
It's an
adjective.
Talking about differences. It's not an insult.
That's what I feel like attributed to a lot of this, is that people don't want to talk about race. It's similar to what you were saying. People don't want to talk about color and the things that also plague the society. The fact is, we are black. We are different colors. We're all different shades.
Exactly. And we're all black women.
And we're all black women, and you are a white woman, and that's fine, But there is color, guys. Let's stop trying to live like there is just no such thing as color, because when you look at me, you do see a color, and that's fine.
That's right.
Because I love being black.
Me too.
Right.
Okay, we're going to go on to these comments.
Let's keep it coming.
Okay, Kerry Williams Johnson. "I'm disappointed that blacks didn't come out and vote." We are disappointed,
We are too.
Yeah.
Natalie Crew. Very few candid conversations are being held. Politics is so taboo here. We need to get real and dig deep. Mm-hmm. Even in regards to third parties, 10 people unfriended me in real life and Facebook because of my candid conversations.
Yeah.
This is a social media thing happening.
That's true.
Shout out to Natalie for always watching. I feel like she watches us every day.
She does. We love you.
Yeah. And Kai Winters said, "Your president-elect already divided us."
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
All the way.
I mean, the fact is we are divided right now, and we need to stop like blaming each other and just look at like the collective issue and the multiple issues that led up to it. And I just feel like this colorblind thing has got to go. Like, who said this was a thing?
No, who
like
made that up?
Who started this?
The new blacks, as we like to call them. We're just like, or they like to blame it on the millennials that live in this post-racial society. But we are all millennials here,
right?
And I don't know who they polled, but clearly the same ones at the Hillary Clinton.
I feel like it was a way for, well, I'll just say white people, for them to not talk about race. Like, it was a way to live within the bubble, to just say, well, I'm colorblind, and it kind of put this protective orb around them so they didn't have to address the differences in experiences. Because I started first hearing that stuff in boarding school and then in high school. And people just be like, I'm colorblind when any race discussion.
Yeah, because then you don't have to answer questions about black and white privilege.
Right, because it's just like, I just
But again, that is white privilege.
That is, right.
That is white privilege. To be able to say that you're colorblind or you don't see color is privilege in and of itself. And the thing is that everyone has some kind of privilege, you know? So it's like, even if it's not a privilege on your race, it might be a socioeconomic privilege. It might be an experience privilege.
Education privilege.
So it's not, I think that, I don't know. And I mean, if there's more white women that are watching, like, do you feel like attacked or something? Like, I'm trying to figure out what it is that is like keeping us away. Because to be real, like, to be white in America right now, I wouldn't want to be white in America.
Well, you know, I always say this because my father's white. My parents have been married 40 years. Shout out to them.
Yeah.
And they dealt with a lot. They dealt with, you know, family members kind of disowning them. They dealt with things, their car being egged, windows being smashed. They, you know, coming up in the 1970s and 80s in, you know, New Jersey, that was a big thing. So, but my dad, who is white, he's Irish, Catholic American, one of the things that I love so much, and so much of what I love about myself and what I believe about how I see the world is from my father, because he never operated under the illusion that his experience was the same as my mother's. I remember one time I had a conversation with him where I was talking about people discriminating against him, and I said, against them as a couple, and I said, well, Dad, you know what it's like to be discriminated against. And he said, no. And he stopped me, and I must have been 8 years old. He said, your mother knows what it's like. He said, when I walk away, I'm still a white, heterosexual, middle-class American man. And he's like, and even though my children are black, and my wife is black, that's just the reality. So no one is saying to like undo white people and go like, this is the thing, is there's so much sensitivity. We just want people to say like, I understand and I can take away the privilege and I recognize it and I'm going to work through it and I'm going to help me understand, like to say like, hey, Kiara, what is it like for you to be a black woman? Or Shamika, what do you think as a black woman, the perspective on this? It's like, it's not that difficult. But like, I feel like there's so many people are on the defensive that they're just like, well, don't criticize me for being white. That's not what we're criticizing you for.
If your white friends like read your article and if they were to come to you and be like, Kiara, what is it that we can do? What is it that you would want them to do?
I would first want them to understand how their vote for Trump reflects upon them. Because all I've been getting is deflection. They've just been saying, well, that's not me. I just did it because I don't like Hillary. Like, the first fundamental thing is understanding why a candidate running a magic carpet of hate into the White House was an issue.
Do you think that the entire reason that 59 million people voted for him was based on race, based on his racism?
No, actually. I think that some parts of it was race, clearly. I think some of it was people just feeling really disenfranchised economically with jobs. I think part of it was backlash from Barack Obama being in office, and some of it is conservatism versus liberalism. Like, I don't think it's all... Some of it is religion, you know? Some people were really single issue, I am not for abortion. And so I'm voting for Donald Trump because he's not for abortion. So I think there's a lot of reasons.
And lack of education.
And lack of education, absolutely. I think there's a lot of reasons. But to me, whatever the other underlying issues are, you cannot support a hateful candidate. You cannot. Like, to me, that trumps everything.
Yeah.
Word. Pun, not
word.
Right.
I wanted to get into this because we talked about family. Sissy Bullock says, I have family members that are not of the same ethnic background as myself. And I love them for Donald Trump, and I will of the... Can you help me with this?
She said, any of my family voted down drunk, well, then that's their prerogative. I love them as much. Oh, I think she's saying that she had, right, there might have been some autocorrect.
Yeah.
That she has families and she loves them even though they, voted for Donald Trump. And that he's only going to be in office 4 years and family is kind of forever. I think that's the gist of what her comment was.
Yeah, no one's saying to hate. I don't hate anybody that I was talking about. I still love them. What I was speaking on was the pain of seeing someone vote for hate.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it's interesting because, like they say, like violence begets more violence or hate begets more hate. I felt when Trump won, I felt hatred. Like, I was mad at everyone who voted for him. I was like, I can't believe that you people just didn't even think about the minority, which is what I felt happened. But like Kiara was saying, I think that white people felt oppressed in their time under the Obama administration, which is odd to the minority, because we're just like, we're just
trying to make it even
in oppression for all of these years. I do feel like white people were oppressed under the Obama administration, and they rebelled so much.
Or they felt they were oppressed.
They felt they were oppressed, and they rebelled so much that now they're like, well, I'm going the complete opposite way. I mean, that's just one of the reasons. I think race and economics and all those other things were involved as well. But that reminds me of Allie's article. Allison wrote an article about the overwhelming vote from white women that went to Trump.
I also want to count on, it was a lot of uneducated white women, you know, which like, but that no one's really calling it out as that. They'll be like a specific group of people or da 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 da. You know, it would have been in a quickness if it was us uneducated black women. Be like, uneducated black women are the reason why Trump is in office. I can like see the headline. I can see the headline already. Totally but I also have to put a lot too on this government on both sides, because I feel like the Republicans are here licking their wounds, like, you know, and the Democrats are here licking their wounds, because it's the Republicans are the entire reason that they even had a candidate like Trump,
right?
You know, and then I have never seen, I mean, like in my like short lifetime, but in my lifetime, anyone internationally or nationally react the way they have to a new world leader like this.
Well, you're right, exactly, because he is an anomaly, and he's so, no one really knows. Even if you take all his bigotry away and you take all of the things that he said, nobody really knows his policies. He was like, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. We're going to create jobs. Okay, well, you know, how? And that's the thing, is like, and his business deals have been really shrouded in mystery too.
People keep saying he was successful. It's like, do you guys not see?
One more thing with that, like, I just think like there is so many protests that happened all around, you know, America last night. If any of you went to any of them, please tell us and your experience about that. But it's so interesting to see, and I wonder, because everyone's like, we have to have this transition, this peaceful transition of power. I mean, not to go all Malcolm X on y'all, but yeah, like, do we have to? Like, do we really have to?
I know.
Under the guise of the Constitution in America.
But I mean, I look at all the things that we have this Constitution for that have not gone into play. Like, there's no reason why Obama should not be able to pick a Supreme Court justice before he leaves. Also, too, I remember in like 2008, like the transition never happened so quickly. I don't know if it's happening so quickly because he is so inexperienced and they're like, oh, we need these 60 days.
No, that's a good point.
You know, but like, when Obama was president, he became president in January at the inaugural ball.
Right.
You know, it's like, I almost feel like our president-elect Trump is like the president now. I feel like that's how the media is making it seem, and I don't like that either.
There's one comment I want to read because it's just like nothing I've ever heard before. So Crystal Elizabeth Melville says, what kind of platform calls themselves Hello Beautiful